Well, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, it's A350 time. I'm sure you folks have already seen the latest preview of the A350 shared by iniBuilds, but alongside said trailer and teaser, they've also shared tons of details regarding the systems that will be present on launch, weathering engines, failures, customization, and more, all of which we'll be talking about in this video today. So if you're excited, do hit that like and subscribe button so I can continue bringing you folks content just like this. Also, we do have a second channel with some stunning full-flight content with heavily edited audio and cinematic experiences within Microsoft Flight Simulator, of course, so please do check FlyBy Expeditions out as well. With that all out of the way, a quick note from our sponsor before jumping into everything A350. Awesome is a free-to-download application software from macOS, Windows, and Android that allows you to remotely control your PC using your phone. As can be seen here, I can monitor my flight, control the cameras, and even move things around as needed without having to be anywhere near my monitor. The app does allow keyboard customization as well as mouse support and can also support games up to 144 FPS. Once again, that's Awesome Remote, and you can find out more by clicking on the link in the description section of the video. So as you folks can see from the trailer playing in the background, the focus for today's update and preview was mainly 3D art and focus. So just like the Airbus iniBuilds A300, the A350 also has fully modeled engine interiors that will have cowlings that can be actually opened for you to do a visual inspection as you manage the maintenance of your aircraft. These will all form part of the maintenance options and other abnormal situations that will have to be managed via the EFB. Things like brake wear indicators, a dedicated fueling panel, and openable APU cowling as well will all be previewable from this EFB, so it's pretty cool to see all that. Next up then, let's talk about weathering effects and taking your A350 simulation to the next level. The team understands that the A350 is such an iconic aircraft that some people might want to fly a spick and span new A350 with shiny instruments versus others who might want to fly a battered 8 years in service version. As a result, the team will be introducing dynamic weathering on the actual aircraft. Essentially, the more you fly, the more worn your aircraft will actually look. So here's an example of a segment of the wing that we would consider to be at a mild weathering level. The team says they're excited to share more in a few months, but it will definitely add to the immersion as you take the aircraft on an ultimate long-haul journey. Paint will start to peel away from rivets, painted screws will slowly be replaced by unpainted replacements, sealant around access panels will become more pronounced as it's replaced with each opening, dynamic oil and dirt streaks will start appearing around areas where leaks are more prevalent, dirt and grime on flaps and other control surfaces will appear where rubbing against fixed surfaces occurs, so you guys get the picture. It's going to be awesome work all around, especially when it comes to this dynamic weathering. And of course, the authenticity continues into the flight deck as well. Some of the shots we've seen from the trailer clearly exemplify this, and not just with the visuals, but also the audio experience, both of which are absolutely stunning so far from what we have seen. Now, speaking of the cockpit, the team says that they're working hard on the systems side of things as well. One thing to note here is that the ECAM systems logic you're seeing in these trailer shots and images is still work in progress. On the modeling side though, everything from simple screws to a main texture map is perfectly curated and applied to the model. The use of PBR, of course, and detail materials is present on every single element on this cockpit, using newly learned techniques to save a lot of memory and as such performance or FPS, but retaining the level of detail to the maximum level possible. Now, several people have raised complaints about iniBuilds' lack of care and attention towards performance with their recent aircraft projects, but they have acknowledged this qualm from the community firsthand, and their most recent A300 update is testament to that, as it offers significantly better performance than before. Hopefully they can take these learnings and also apply it to the A350. Going back to the announcement, the team says that they will cover more A350 areas such as the systems, the EFB, and some brand new features not ever seen before in an iniBuilds aircraft over the next few months, which once again gives us a pretty clear indication that the project isn't exactly ready for release or anything like that, and is definitely a few months out. But looking at the visual progress, at least, it's definitely very promising. The main thing to focus on now is going to be realism, physics, and the actual flying characteristics of the A350 to be nailed within the simulator. simulator. Speaking of realism and data, iniBuilds goes on to address how, even despite the lack of apparently available data on the A350, they're still able to promise an authentic, realistic experience. Now, we have a full FAQ from the team, which we'll get into in just a second, addressing many of the specifics on upcoming A350 features, but this is what they had to say specifically on the data and realism front. The A350 is over a decade old now, and quite a bit of data can be found for core systems and overall functionality. The team did have some missing spots when it came to the data they needed to bring the A350 into Microsoft Flight Simulator, so they regularly rented a full motion A350 simulator for multiple hours, allowing them to fully capture these details and fill in any missing information. For aerodynamic data, iniBuilds have a base data package, and the simulator allows them to verify this data as well. In doing all this, it's clear that attention to detail is definitely present from the iniBuilds team. So, rest assured, this product will not only be visually appealing, as we can see from some of these images and screenshots we're seeing, but to the highest level of detail as well, far exceeding anything else iniBuilds have produced thus far in their own words, which is absolutely amazing to see and hear. And with all that being said then, let's do a quick rapid fire round and answer some of the most pertinent FAQs, or frequently asked questions, that the iniBuilds team have kindly decided to address regarding the A350. We'll go one by one here and discuss what I deem to be of value to most of you guys, but of course the links to all of these announcements as well as the teaser trailer itself are all in the description section down below, so you guys can go check out all the questions if you guys want to. Starting things off then, what variants will be present on release? On release, we will have the A350-900 Trent XWB-84s and the A350-1000 Trent XWB-97. What about the ULR, or the ultra long range variant then? Well, the team says that they will release the A350-900 ULR variant for free post-release. So definitely not going to be coming on release, but definitely a free update post-release. Next, will the A350 have the FLS landing system? Yes, the A350 will be fitted with FLS, as modern family Airbus aircraft only use the XLS concept, with final approach not being used anymore. Next up, will the A350 have the original OIS, or the onboard information system, with the same functionalities, or will it be something fictional created by iniBuilds themselves? Now, to this, the iniBuilds team says that the OIS will be something made by iniBuilds, but done in the style and format of the real A350 OIS. This allows integration of simulation features into the OIS, while also keeping that original look from the A350. Next up, will the A350 come with its HUD? For the A350 family, the HUD is quite a rare option, and at this time, iniBuilds are not looking at implementing this feature. Next up, somebody asks, what kind of system depth will you go for with the A350? Will it include secondary flight plans and pilot waypoints for the FMS and MCDU? Their response to this was that they do intend to replicate close to all the MCDU functions on the A350, including secondary flight plan, and if possible, secondary flight plan 2 and 3 as well, along with pilot waypoints on the ND via the cursor mode. Next up, this one's a good one. Will the A350 come with the ability to do auto step climbs during accelerated simulations, like the PMDG 777 just released, and it's a godsend of a feature, especially for long-haul flights? Well, to this, iniBuilds says that they intend to support auto step climbs and accelerated simulation as well. At this time, however, they can't give a hard value to what level of acceleration will be supported, as this can depend on how the final autopilot and auto flight system react to the various variables that are present in the simulator. Now, we know that PMDG 777 goes up to 16x, acceleration, but we'll have to see what the A350 does. Next up, will the A350 have things adding more failures, more options and performance calculations like climb gradients, obstacle clearance, and so on, and maybe even circuit breaker functionality? To this, they say that iniBuilds do intend to have a base level set of failures that can be actioned in the simulator, along with some other types of failures that the team will talk about at a later date. Most of the reset panel, for example, will be simulated. These are the closest thing that you can get to a circuit breaker in the A350 flight deck. Reset panel 1 and 2 are located on the upper left and upper right of the overhead, and allow the pilots to reset systems that might have failed, rather than having to pull a set of circuit breakers on a back wall. So that indeed will be simulated in the iniBuilds A350. They will also have more options in the performance calculator to cover climb gradients and obstacle clearances. Next up, this one's quite interesting. Is GPS jamming and spoofing going to be simulated on the A350? This is apparently quite a common thing that pilots deal with on a day-to-day basis, especially over countries like Iraq, Turkey, Iraq, and Kuwait. iniBuilds do want to try and simulate challenges line pilots come across day to day and will have a system to allow this level of challenge to be scaled for each user. And finally, will the product have CPDLC and Hoppy integration? Something that we all want to know, especially for hands-free, no communication ATC communications. To this, they said that they do intend to have a full CPDLC integration using Hoppy. CPDLC in the A350 is also integrated directly into the aircraft, not a separated DCDU like on the A320 family. iniBuilds also intends to have a fully simulated ACAR system with some never-before-seen functionality, which they will also showcase at a later date. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the conclusion of our video today, covering mostly everything we know about the A350 from iniBuilds as of today, the 24th of July 2024. I'll be sure to keep you folks updated regarding the progress of this bird as and when we know more, so definitely like this video and subscribe to the channel, and also check out our second channel for more visual masterpieces in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And of course, do let me know down in the comment section below which route you'll be flying first with the A350, and of course with what livery. With that all said, guys, thanks for watching and thanks for flying by.